falls in life. We live and learn from our mistakes. The deepest cuts I leave our face. Now I believe there comes a time when everything just falls in line. We live and learn from our mistakes. The deepest cuts I leave our face. Now I believe there comes a time when everything just falls in line. We live and learn from our mistakes. The deepest cuts I heal by faith. Now I believe. Oh, fire up. Oh, fire up. Oh, fire up. Oh, fire up, fire up, fire up. Now I believe there comes a time when everything just falls in line. We live and learn from our mistakes. The deepest cuts out heal by faith.
Hi, welcome to ReneMarie Stroke of Luck. I'm ReneMarie, and every week I say what an important show it is, but this one is really passionate for me. It's about aphasia, and aphasia, everyone always hears me talking about it. It really is a silent, I believe it's a silent illness or something that stems from a stroke or brain trauma that people really don't understand. A stroke is a brain attack, and when the brain gets attacked, the communication skills really get affected, and that to me is something silent that people really don't see. It's not a physical thing. When you have a stroke like myself, sometimes you get weak on your one side, and people can see that maybe there's something wrong, but aphasia really is this new terminology, and we're going to talk to our very special guest, Edna Schneider. She's going to tell us a little bit about aphasia. She's a speech pathologist. So we're really excited to have the information, and maybe we will be able to educate yourselves and educate me, because, when you're going through it and you don't know what's happening to you, it really is important to keep learning so that we can bring awareness to all of you. So that is what this show is about, aphasia, and really is very important to tune in today to learn, because everyone knows of strokes, and strokes are becoming more mainstream now with the illness, and thanks to the American Stroke Association, thanks to the National Stroke Association, thanks to Dr. Beculus and Jason and everybody who's doing an extraordinary job in bringing awareness to it. But this is really a passion of mine, to bring awareness to aphasia as well as strokes. So let me introduce my co-host, Judy Marlow. Hi, Judy.
Hi, how are you today?
Good, thank you. And tell our audience how Edna came into our story.
We were interviewing Edna's sister,
which always happens,
Susan. And she was talking about the foundation that she started because of her son's illness. And during the conversation, she mentioned Edna and her work in aphasia.
Right.
I said, we got to book you.
Yes, yes. And, it's extraordinary that, we have people on for
one reason.
And, they say, by the way, I have someone who suffered a stroke, or I have someone who knows about aphasia, or I got a speech pathologist
or
sister.
I know someone who had a brain aneurysm or a brain injury.
It blows me away with the with the connections and the way we just keep going down this journey. So it is going to be an extraordinary day. But Judy, can you share with them what I'm doing today at 3:30 in the afternoon?
Starting at 10 actually, is the 50s Fair at the Huntington Hilton. And at 3:30 today, ReneMarie will be doing her concert. And I'm going to read a little bit about it. It's the Unconditional Love Concert Tour.
Yeah.
And are you going to talk a little about how you got started with the stroke? And,
yes. Yeah, I'm going to, it's down there.
Okay, so,
Sure.
all right. Humble gratefulness to all who have loved her through a long major stroke and aphasia recovery and given her the second chance at life. Take a magical ride on the Unconditional Love Tour concert. Share in the moments of ReneMarie's struggles and triumphs. ReneMarie's experienced the power of unconditional love. During her recovery, she is passionate about spreading the words that love is the key component to recovery. ReneMarie will inspire and bring us a vibrant ray of hope that anything is possible. When you believe, you must believe. ReneMarie has the honor of being a member of the Recording Academy, the Grammys, since 2007. ASCAP, author of ReneMarie's Stroke of Luck, and she's writing the extra inning, which is in the process and should be out shortly.
Yeah, my family, I had one family member go into hospice and pass on, and then right after that my grandmother, 96, got sick, is now in hospice, so I have not been able to finalize.
We understand. She's a keynote speaker. Knowledge is power, and if you haven't had a chance to see this, please take a look at it on ReneMarie, Stroke of Luck, TV.com, on Language of Love website, and on the Village Connection Network videos. It's all over. It's gotten over 8,800 views.
That's only from one stream. That's only from Facebook.
Yes, on YouTube, not too many people see it, but on
But they can
Facebook,
also watch on our website, which doesn't get clicks.
Yes,
So,
and also on my Facebook page.
Yeah, we're really proud of what we're doing. So.
It's only $6 to attend in advance. www.over50fair.com. Tickets are $8 at the door and free for veterans with ID. And if you purchase tickets now, you'll save an additional $2 per ticket by using the coupon code FAIR. So buy your tickets now before 10 o'clock.
Yes, you can even stand at the door and buy them before you get in.
This means you can attend for just $4, and that's a really good deal. And again, at 3:30, Renee will be doing her concert. Don't miss it.
And I came up with my whole timeline for my concert. So, but speaking of unconditional love, before we stroll into the very important welcome Edna to the show, I have had two important family members. What do you call confidants? What do you call a family member that has showed you unconditional love? What would you...
Somebody who's really supporting you, a person who loves you and supports you.
Well, my dad, of course.
Your dad.
My dad was the main person. I could tell my dad anything, and I knew no matter what I did, he would still love me. No matter the mistakes I made, no matter what I did in my life, he was always there. And I always remember sitting on his front porch in his rocking chair. You have conversations with him, and he would just go, okay. It was extraordinary. And the other one is my grandmother, who's passing on right now. My mom was an opera singer, and she traveled around the world. So she was doing her ministry in life, and I totally understand that, and I get it. But my grandmother, was the person that was there for me. She would walk miles for us. She would, come when we were sick. She would, be there after school. And so, we're praying that God takes her quickly and easily so that she doesn't have to suffer so much. She doesn't deserve to suffer. So keep my grandmother, Abuelita, in your prayers. And today's concert is dedicated to my grandmother, to my grandmother. So enough with me and Judy. We're going to get to the important piece of this show. And if you can open up the camera, Jim, to Edna. Xian? Okay. Hi, Edna. Good morning.
Good morning, Edna.
Good morning. Thank you so much for coming. And as we were speaking before, you know that this is really a very passionate piece of our story, that we really am very grateful that you're bringing your knowledge and experience to us. So tell us a little bit about, where you're working and your history and all that kind of stuff.
First of all, I want to thank you very much for inviting me.
Oh, it's our pleasure.
And kudos to you for such an excellent recovery. I'm so impressed with the way that you're able to communicate with your audience and to be able to accomplish so many things in your life. I'm really impressed with you.
Thank you. I do feel like Judy read, it is a second chance at life, and and you have to understand that. You just can't. And I think, this is my feeling, that God left me a little disabled so that I would never forget what I experienced. Because sometimes if I would have went back to being fully me, I probably would have just okay, let's go. So this is a little reminder that it is a second chance at life. So do what you got to do. So so thank you so much. I really appreciate your words.
Thank you. And I just do want to comment on your talking about love. I think that I'm from the love generation.
Woo!
And I think that love and support from families is so important in recovery. In the patients that I see all the time, if they have a loved one who's there for them, it makes such a difference in the way that they recover and the way that they get back into their lives.
That's so true.
Because me being one that experienced it, and I'm sure everybody's had an illness, but I had the love around me. And you could feel that, even though my father wasn't a speaker. He never said, I love you so much. I don't think, maybe if he said it once or twice in my entire life, but he gave me unconditional love. I knew. So you just feel that love and support to recover. So we do a show. What do we do, Judy, saying that love is, that money and insurance.
Insurance should not be the deciding factor in recovery.
And love.
Love is so important.
Is the key to recovery.
It's the key to this
It's
recovery.
the most important thing, because if you love people, if you love them through it, like if somebody gets sick, and I'm speaking to the choir with you, but I'm just speaking, my passion is when someone gets sick, you don't worry about insurance, you don't worry about money. You want them to get the best care that they can get to recover. Right. And that's all love,
Right.
And secondary should be all the money and the insurance and stuff like that. That's just our passion for it. So we're right on board with you, and that's probably why you came here today, unknowing that we do believe that love is the answer.
Yes.
Love is the answer.
Yes.
So we're good, and I'm sure that you love your patients through all that they have to, challenges and stuff. So.
Well, another point that you brought out is in unconditional love. You were saying you sit and you listen to your father, and your father didn't have any judgment. And I think that that's, if you can stay in a place where you don't feel that you're being judged, then you can recover even more, because it gives you an opportunity to just be yourself. And that's what communication is. As you said before too, that when we communicate, we talk from our hearts. We talk about who we are as a person. When you have a brain injury, a stroke, not only a stroke, any brain injury, I work with patients who have tumors, any neurological insults, anything that happens to the brain, concussion, MS, Parkinson's disease, stroke, as you mentioned, brain, a trauma. And at our center at NYU Medical Center, we work with patients from ages 18 all the way up to 95. And we see many different people and how they are in their lives, and to get back to who they are, to return to work, return to play, return to life, is Dr. Rusk's basic philosophy, and he created the Rusk Institute, and that's where I've spent my career. And I truly believe in, what's inside a person is how you are, and that's so important to bring it out. As a therapist, as a speech therapist, you work with communication, and that is the crux of life, to be able to communicate. I'm sorry, I get very emotional.
Well, yeah, I can tell, but that's why you've been in the field for so long, because you do have a passion.
It's
you have
so
empathy,
important.
You have a passion for helping people and understanding people and listening to people.
Right.
So
you asked me about aphasia. I think that if you go back, if a person would be interested in the history of aphasia, you can go to Wikipedia or whatever, and they will show you that aphasia has been named in even Greek mythology and in Roman history and the history of medicine. They've always alluded to differences in speech and in communication, and aphasia has been named in different ways along that path. We call it aphasia. Many people don't know what aphasia is, so I will just explain it from the American Speech and Hearing Association, and then I'll talk a little bit more about how it is functional, how it relates to life. Okay?
Right. Okay, excellent.
So aphasia, through the American Speech and Hearing Association, is defined as an acquired neurological language disorder resulting from an injury to the brain, most typically to the left hemisphere, although we have seen patients with aphasia located even in the right hemisphere and even in the deeper part of the white matter, so it's not localized to just one hemisphere. Aphasia involves the different primary areas of language: speaking, understanding, reading, and writing. All of these areas of language affect your communication. You can have...
That's why it's, excuse me, that's why it's a communication
disorder.
That's the word. A communication disorder, not a speech disorder, because it does have the understanding and the thought process involved in that.
Right. So when people refer to us as speech therapists, they think that maybe we work on a lisp.
Right. Right.
But that's very far from what we work on.
Right.
I mean, there are speech pathologists in different settings that do work on lisps, and they do great work. We at NYU Medical Center work with neurological disorders.
Wow.
So the incidence of aphasia, according to the American Speech and Hearing Association, is there are 180,000 new cases of aphasia each year in the United States. Approximately 1 in 250 people in the United States are living with aphasia.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
That is an extraordinary number.
I know, that's an extraordinary number. Okay. Any questions?
I'm astounded by it because, well, if you think about it, strokes is the first leading cause of disability. And if you can't speak, right, that would be part of the disability. Do they account for that in the disability calculation?
Yes, they do, because they're talking about the prevalence of aphasia refers to the number of people who are living with aphasia in a given period. This is from the Center for Disease Control.
Wow.
Okay, and estimates approximately 1 million people.
Wow.
Are living with aphasia.
That's incredible.
In the United States.
So how long have you worked for NYU?
I've just celebrated my 35th anniversary.
Wow. That's incredible. And I got to give kudos to the NYU as well, because, in the industries nowadays, people really don't stay in positions for a long time. And there's so many variations of reasons. People need to grow. If they don't give growth knowledge, if they, if you can't get an increase in your pay unless you change positions. So there are a bunch, but if that's incredible that you've been there for 35 years.
Well, I started, I also worked in Hawaii at the I forget the exact. I want to give you the
Judy
exact
could tell you because we have it. We have it on your.
I just don't want to say it incorrectly. It's the Rehabilitation Hospital.
Judy's got it on the.
Okay, you want me to read the whole paragraph?
Read it.
Edna is a highly regarded practitioner and presenter in speech-language pathology with more than 30, now we know it's 35 years, of clinical experience and a deep focus on issues of stroke, traumatic brain injury, concussion, Parkinson's disease, neurogenic disorders, and is a clinical specialist at Rusk Rehabilitation Department of Speech and Language Pathology, New York University Langone Medical Center. She received her bachelor's degree at Emerson College, Boston, and completed her master's degree at C.W. Post College on Long Island. She has a fellowship. She was fellowship trained at the Rehab Hospital of the Pacific in Hawaii and professionally trained under the mentorship of Martha Taylor Sarno.
So tell us a little bit about Martha Taylor. Is she?
Martha Taylor Sarno is retired now, and she's a pioneer in our field, and she worked with Dr. Howard Rusk, and she and Dr. Rusk started the speech department at Rusk Institute.
Wow.
In the 50s, after the war. After the war, many veterans came back, and they had aphasia, and they also had, of course, physical disabilities. And Dr. Rusk felt that it was very important for these men not to be just lying around, but to get up and get back into life. That was his philosophy. And Dr. Sarno aligned herself with that philosophy in the field of communication. And that's how our department became part of the Rusk Institute.
Wow. So was she the pioneer for all of speech pathologists or speech in the speech area? I don't know.
I think she's one of the greats, as is many other people who participated in our field.
Right.
Here in New York and Chicago.
Right. Oh my gosh, that is. So we were talking about it before, how most of you know that I've experienced a stroke and aphasia, and I remember in my book I even write this, that I remember going to speech therapy and them giving me a child's book, and the boy ran, and me think I'm saying it and I'm mumbling it, and I couldn't even read it, couldn't even say it. I mean, how do you teach someone to recover?
Well, the first thing I would do is I wouldn't give them a child's book unless they were reading a book to their children. I feel that it's very important to really know a person, who they are and what their interests are as they come into your room. You're not, even though you can't speak, you are communicating. And you as a person, if I would go into a room and somebody would give me something that, like a child's book to read, I don't think I would feel comfortable in that. I think that what you're saying is they gave you something simplistic to read so you'd feel like you could read something.
Right.
Which is a great thing.
Right.
Right.
But I just want to not defend, but this was 30 years ago.
Right, exactly. But people are still doing it.
Oh, really? Okay. But I'm just saying, so but continue.
Yeah, so I mean, When a person comes into my office, you mean, and is...
Yeah, I don't know how this is something I try to make people, I don't know how I got from here to here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't recall the whole process.
Well, part of it is also your brain is reorganizing.
Defragmenting, I call it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
We believe in neuroplasticity.
What's neuroplasticity?
Neuroplasticity means that there is a pliability in the brain, so that, and each part of the brain has an assignment. So, for example, this little piece can read, and this little piece can, can say 3 syllables. The brain has different places in it that is responsible for different areas of speech and language, and vision and thinking. So when an area becomes impaired, say you have a few cells, the axons are sheared or whatever happens, the blood doesn't go to that area. So the cells in the brain are deprived of oxygen and blood, and they either die or become impaired. So when that happens, usually there are other cells around it that become also swollen because they're hit, so they have to heal. So as the brain heals, a lot of times these cells become alive again that we thought were damaged.
Right.
The cells that were damaged have other cells around them that have an idea of what they're doing, of what this, I read 3 words, I could do that too.
Yeah.
So
it's incredible.
So the
brain is just like fascinating to me.
Fascinating. So those cells take over what the other cells used to do. That's neuroplasticity. I'm making it very simplistic. I'm not a neurologist.
Right,
I'm just doing it so that you could have an understanding. There's a lot of brain power. There's a lot of gray matter that we have in there that's waiting to be used. And with therapy, that's why you go to therapy. People do recover without therapy. We used to speak about this at work. If this person doesn't go to therapy and this person does, will that person recover just as fast? Our belief, of course, is not. We believe that therapy provides an environment for the brain to use other areas and to compensate. So we affect treatment, whether we affect it is an impairment based, which means that we actually work specifically on something that we know that the brain can do, or we teach compensatory strategies so that you can communicate in different ways. So for example, if you can't write down 32nd Street and 5th Avenue at 2 o'clock for lunch with Jamie, you just can't do it. So a compensatory strategy might be to have someone else write it for you and have a book or your phone or whatever and look it up so you can still recall where you have to be.
Right. I had a question for you and I forget what it was because I was so into what you were saying.
That was very convoluted. I'm sorry. I don't know if I was clear there.
No, you are. And you bring so many questions up to me because, I'm thinking first of all, centers and recovery centers and therapy, is really an important key. And I'll tell you my experience with Maywood Adler's Aphasia Center. Adler's Aphasia Center in Maywood, New Jersey.
Excuse me, I just want to say something. Adler's Aphasia Center is wonderful. They do fantastic work. A lot of my patients go there. They do productions, they do shows with the patients.
Right.
They're a wonderful center.
Right. They get people involved and learning without even knowing you're getting involved in learning. That's what all the shows are about, because you have to learn to speak and you have to learn to say this and
it makes you feel good about yourself because you're involved in something.
Right. But what I love about the center is when you walk through those doors, you're loved. And you don't have to worry about anybody judging you, misunderstanding you. You could say something. They just love you to, empower you with love, And that's why centers are so important, because out in the real world, it's hard. I mean, even with families, you know, sometimes families get, you know, they got to work and they have to, so they get tired and they don't, sometimes they snap or they don't give you the love that you need to recover. So that's why I really believe in centers and recovery centers and stuff.
Well, I think that also Dr. Sardo and Dr. Riedel felt that that was very important too, and we started the aphasia community groups at NYU, which are community-based groups. They're no fee, and people get together and they talk about different issues and current events and all kinds of ways that they can sit with people who are similar to them and communicate.
And what's important about that is that there's no time limit on it. You know what I'm saying? Because that's one of our, you know, our challenges that we're always in discussion with is, you know, insurance companies, how could they determine that you need 20 physical therapies or 20 speech therapies when I believe it's an ongoing thing for the rest of your life.
Right.
Maybe you don't need it all now. Maybe you just need it. Sometimes you need it more. You know, when you've been dealt a stroke, and I can only speak about strokes because, you know, I've experienced one. Is, you know, you do need recovery at some point. You know, for the rest of your life.
Right. Absolutely. And you do continue to recover for the rest of your life.
Yes. Yes, you're not done. You don't see them, and they can only speak this. I mean, it's a really incredible. Let's talk about music. We were talking before how we love music. Music is a different part of your brain. Am I correct? So I can remember 20 million lyrics to songs.
Right.
Right, but I have a problem with remembering names.
Right.
Talk to us about that.
Well, that's very interesting because sometimes we use melody to help people speak. Melodic intonation therapy is a therapy that was devised, and when you use melody, it does help. I mean, there are different parts of the brain. The right side of the brain usually has more power for melody and for music than the left side. However, the left side has the words, so it's really an exchange of information that goes on. But definitely music helps our patients. It helps our patients feel better, you know, and we have a music therapist at NYU who helps patients recover. And when a person is a musician, I do encourage them to bring in their instrument, or their children will come in and sing to them.
And they say that music is memory. It brings back, if a patient is very quiet and unresponsive and you bring music to them or have them go to a music session, they are totally different. They're really participating in it.
Yeah, well, it's connected to emotion as well, you know, and I think that emotion does help you figure things out and help you be stronger if you look at the emotional impact about having aphasia or not being able to communicate in the way you used to. When you have that emotional component bring to the forefront, or even, you know, address it in therapy, it does help. So yes, music does bring up a lot of emotions.
I met somebody years ago at a conference that was talking about music and memory. And I said, oh my God, that's what I was doing for my dad when he had a stroke. I was playing all kinds of 40s music that he could relate to.
Right.
And I saw a big difference.
Well, we have, Dr. Mary Middleman has a chorus for patients with dementia. And a lot of the patients can't really talk to you or don't really know their surroundings, but when she has them in a chorus and they all sing the songs together, it's amazing how much they remember and how much they communicate.
Wow. Music is so important in life. It really, I love music because, you know, life is difficult enough. I want to bring joy to them for an hour and a half, 2 hours, where they don't have to think about anything but the pleasure and the joys in their lives, and really, because we all, I mean, as we grow, we all have challenges, whether they're family challenges or illnesses or financial or, it doesn't matter, but music just is so important to bring joy to people and hope and really, spread love. It really is important.
Doctor, I was unaware, and Renee, I was unaware that there are various types of aphasia.
Could you tell us about that?
Okay, there are different types of aphasia, that's correct, and different labels to those types. So I will talk about the labels that we use. Some people don't use the same terminology. So there's a type of aphasia called non-fluent aphasia, where you have more difficulty speaking, but you understand more. So you might sound like you're stuttering, or you might say mission state for I'm reading from your mission statement.
Right.
And then there is fluent aphasia, which is you may say, oh, the combobilo doing. It's a red? No. You make up sounds, you make up words as you go.
But you can understand it, but you can't speak it.
Not necessarily. You think you understand it.
Right.
And you think you're saying malundin.
Right.
But you think you're saying flower, but you're not.
Right.
And though the patients with fluent aphasia generally have more speech and less understanding. And sometimes when they're in the hospital, especially at the beginning, people think that they're psychotic, or they think they have cognitive deficits, and they really don't. They just cannot really understand what you're saying to them, and they have difficulty expressing it.
And it's not that they're not intelligent, it's the aphasia that's taking over.
I think that anybody who has a brain injury doesn't lose their intelligence. They still have their smarts about them. They still have who they are. They still have their intellect. It's not a question of intellect, really, in that respect. It's a question of difficulty expressing themselves and difficulty with the components of language.
We're talking like generally to people to make people educated on aphasia, but talk to us. Because I shared this with all the aphasia groups on Facebook. Like, what hope would you bring to us, through your knowledge?
Well, I think that it's very difficult for a clinician to help a patient feel hopeful if they don't have the love and support of the family. We as clinicians do make our patients feel hopeful because we show them what they can do, and we recognize who they are, and we make them feel like they're still people in the world. Then when they go out into the world, sometimes it's harder. They may have family support, of course, and love, but then when they go out into the environment of, like you were talking about before, about people might misconstrue them as being drunk or whatever. Yeah. I mean, that's where the hope sort of goes down, because they can't just stay in their own environment and communicate.
And that's where, let me interrupt once, pardon me for interrupting, that's where my mentor, my confidant, Dom Cordelessa, helped me to give me the tools to use when I went out in the real world, knowing that I had a foundation, that's the word I was looking for, a foundation that I could always go to if anything, if anybody would come at me, or, I always knew, like, okay. It's okay what they're saying, because I have this family and I have this, but it's so hard, Edna, it's so hard to get us, the aphasia patients, to understand that's the bridge that I'm trying to gap between knowing how to do it, and those of us that have suffered aphasia. How do we bridge that gap to make people understand? And Dom, you have to come on the show.
Yes,
I keep saying
the National Association
of Aphasia,
the National Stroke Association is saying that you can use props to help get the message across. Draw words or pictures on paper when someone's trying to communicate. Speak slowly and stay calm when you're talking to a person who has aphasia. And carry a card. They should carry a card to let strangers know that they have aphasia and what aphasia means.
Right.
So that they'll understand why they're having trouble communicating.
Yes. I wonder if, they have those little bracelets that say, I'm
That's-
diabetic, I'm da-da-da.
Yeah.
I don't know if they have that, do they?
I think they have one for
wow.
aphasia.
Wow.
The National Aphasia Association, which was started by Dr. Sardo, had these cards that would give out, and I always give them to my patients and ask them to carry them on their identity, and it has the explanation of aphasia, and it would say, I'm having trouble communicating, I have aphasia. So that if they're pulled over when they're in an accident or something,
Right,
or,
nobody misunderstands.
some of my patients were in a store and they thought they were shoplifting. These people get into circumstances where they need to have some sort of an explanation with them. Now we have on our telephones, our iPhones, we have ICE, which has our identifying information.
Right.
I'm wondering if they could also put in that identifying information some sort of a saying where I have aphasia, I have trouble communicating.
Very important.
Or maybe even a card, like when you're diabetic or when you have a
Right.
card.
Right.
I mean, just something because you remember that gentleman that was having a heart attack in the car and the police thought he was drunk and they were pulling him out. I mean, that's just an example of,
There's another idea, dog tag. I would have your name.
a beautiful dog tag. You don't want a dog
Right.
tag.
Well, you know what? You can have it made up really nice with your name and contact information, and it should say, I have aphasia.
Yeah.
I have aphasia communication.
Right.
Yeah.
So you asked about how...
So if you were, God forbid, in an accident, and, they would see it would be on you.
Right.
That's a good idea.
Right. I think...
Oh, wow. Read this
Also,
to us.
I think that occupational therapists can help people with that and with identifying and finding out places where they can get those bracelets, etc., that say, I have aphasia.
We're going to find out where they are, and we're going to put them on our website and share the link.
Good.
So that people can know where to get it, so that there's some bridge between, the us that suffer from aphasia and the general population. So
Also, an idea is that in any shopping mall, those little concession stands in the middle, they sell those dog tags, and you can get what you want printed on it.
Oh, you can get what you want.
And if you could have somebody type it up or write it out, and they could show it to the person and say that's what they want.
Right. That's a good idea. That's
Right.
a good idea. Read this to us, Edna.
Okay, so these are, if you need to communicate with someone who has aphasia, these are some points to do. So you would keep it simple, speak in short, simple sentences. Be patient, which is a hard one for everybody.
It really is. It really is. Especially nowadays, people want immediate responses, and if they don't get it, they kind of start getting. So it is a challenge nowadays.
Right. Also, when you're speaking to people with aphasia, to remove distractions so that the television is not on, a lot of music is not on, you're not in a busy street, you're not in a car. Okay. Be creative. Some people can draw what they're trying to say. If you give them a paper or pencil, sometimes they can write what they want to say. Maybe you want to have an alphabet board around, so you can just point to the letters, things that can create an environment for a person to communicate a little more easily.
Right.
You want to confirm back what they say. So if you say to me, be here at Monday, I could say, Monday, do you want me to be here on Monday? So you're making sure of what you just said.
Right.
Okay. When you have aphasia, a person with aphasia needs to take their time to get their words out and to make sure that they indicate to their listener whether or not they want them to finish the sentence for them. Sometimes a person with aphasia wants to be able to struggle it out, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes they want to be able to have someone help them. That is a decision that they should be able to make, because then you're giving them the control.
Right, and if you just jump in and start finishing their sentences, they could become very offended and frustrated.
Well, I know that we get frustrated just trying to say it. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's where the loved ones or the speech therapist around us said, it's okay. I always remember Dom saying to me, it's okay. Let's think about it and we'll get back tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And he would do that every day to me, every day. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't like, I gotta figure it out. Right. No, he would say that, and if I didn't have the answer the next day, it's okay. Mm-hmm. Think about it. He'd give me a little more information, and then go back.
I love it.
So I mean, it's just, and to me, he was just the person that God put in my path, because I wasn't so. If I would have went to wasn't going to go to a doctor at that time. I didn't think I needed therapy. You know what I'm saying? Because I was on the go. I was doing and doing and doing and doing. Mm-hmm. So God put this general, boss in my path, so that he was the one that God was using to help me. But whatever person comes into your life, or any direction that you're going to use, that's the best way to take it. So,
as an aside, though, I do want to comment about what you're just saying. Faith is a very important part of recovery for many people. In fact, some years ago, the New York Times had an article about how faith affects recovery. And they found that people who have some sort of faith, whether it be in the universe, whether it be in God or whatever,
in yourself,
do recover much greater than those who do not. So your point is well taken, whatever faith is to you.
Whatever faith. And people know that, to me, it doesn't matter what faith you are. Mm-hmm. I just want you to have faith, have hope, have inner strength. Doesn't matter what you call it, but when through life, you need that to face your challenges. If you have a partner, they could be your one you have faith in, but you have to have faith, because, look at 9/11. Let's go back to something that really devastated all our lives, 9/11. At that particular time, we were walking around like, what happened? What was going on? And we had faith in each other, and people just came together at that particular moment to really be there for one another. I really have a relationship with God in my world, and and I hear him saying to me, like, this is the moment. Why do we have to have this happen to us to all get to that point where we love each other? We should love each other all the time. So it really is an important thing to have.
And when they
faith.
when family or friends visit the person who's had a stroke or aphasia or any kind of brain injury, they should be positive, they should encourage the person, and that shows love. And with doing that, that gives them the faith and the hope to continue.
Yeah, I agree. I really agree.
Everything has to be positive. You can't say anything negative.
Yeah. You have to, but you also, and correct me if I'm wrong, Edna, you also have to keep pushing them a little bit.
Yes.
Right? Tell us about that. Tell us how you challenge people to grow, to get more therapy. Tell us a little bit about that. Like, how do you inspire them to keep pushing themselves? Because even when you're a softball player or baseball player, you got to keep pushing yourself every day. So tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, it's very hard. I have to really think about that. I guess it's building on their success,
right?
Because if they see that they can make a phone call and be understood, that in itself gives them the courage to make the next phone call.
Right.
So I think it's very important for them to examine their own successes.
Right. And I'm imagining that you would have to point it out to them, because being an aphasia patient, I could tell you that we don't understand it so much. You know what I'm saying? We, like we just made a phone call. It's like, oh, we made a phone call. Like, we're not putting the dots together. So that's where the therapist or the mentor or whoever has to say, great job. Like, you just made a phone call. That's so good. We're going to do it again tomorrow, so.
Right. Well, and they understood you, and don't you feel good about that?
Yeah.
Sometimes also we have a self-rating scale. So if I'll say on a scale of 1 to 5, what do you think your expression was today? Or how did you, were you clear or whatever? And then they'll rate themselves. And sometimes they rate themselves too high and sometimes too low. But the more that they're aware of their own self-assessment, the better their recovery.
Yeah, right.
And
right.
sometimes
Absolutely.
they come up with their own systems, which is fabulous. Like I have a patient now who came up with her own system. She calls it smart speech. And so we have different parameters that we judge it on. And then she'll judge it and she'll make a chart and she'll figure it all out. And she has really done much better with her own system. So I think as a therapist, you help bring that out in a person. You might give them suggestions or parameters, but you have to really find out. The basic thing is to, as you said before, every patient and every aphasic patient is unique.
It is unique.
And the reason that I have been working at my job for so many years is because I see that each patient and each circumstance is so unique that it's really new and fresh all the time.
Right, right.
And if a therapist finds out what makes that person who they are and works with that will give them a validation of who they are in this world, and that will help them with their hope and their resilience.
That's so true. It's so true, and it really is important to bring hope to people. And I got to tell you, you guys are doing an extraordinary job, and we're really honored and privileged that you took the time, because time is valuable, especially as we grow older in our lives. And I know that you pick and choose what you're going to involve yourself in.
Right.
So we thank you so much for coming today and to bring your knowledge and experience to the world. And we have a few minutes, but I really want to touch on the emotional side of it, because like I said before, why do some stroke patients or brain injury patients, how come they have different emotions? Like, one person would cry on a drop of a hat with no reason, one would laugh on a drop of a hat, some would, not feel anything. Talk to us a little bit about why that happens.
Well, in our brain, there are different areas, we call them filters, that have to do with the way that we react to things. And when you have a brain injury, sometimes these filters are injured or attacked in some way, and you don't have the same ability to inhibit or to be appropriate at different circumstances. So some patients will curse when they've never really spoken that way.
Yes, there is. I mean, I think it was a gentleman who was on a show, like, for no reason he would curse. You know, he didn't. He didn't
do it on air.
No. You know what? No, it was someone that wanted to come on a show, and Judy felt uncomfortable having him on the show because
he couldn't control
his verbiage. So.
Right.
You know what's interesting? My dad never cursed at all, and you couldn't even play something. I once brought a record home that had a little of that in it. It was from a movie, and he said, get it out of the house and whatever. My point is that when he had his massive stroke, and he couldn't talk, and he couldn't move, he was paralyzed, and the man in the next area to him in the hospital near the window started cursing about his hamburger not being cooked properly, and my father hadn't eaten in I don't know how many days. Okay, and the cursing was just escalating. My father all of a sudden sat up abruptly. He couldn't move, he was paralyzed on the entire left side of his body. Sat up abruptly and shouted, "Stop it."
Wow.
And then there were nurses and doctors in the room. They went, "My God!
Oh my gosh!
Can you do that again?"
That was good that he got up, right?
He got up, but he was That's how strongly he felt about it.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Well, you know, we always want to give you the opportunity. Is there something that you wanted to, did you want to talk about something, or did we touch on everything that you taught?
No, I'm fine. I just want to say how much I respect my patients and their resourcefulness.
Yeah.
And I feel privileged to work with them.
Yeah, and they're lucky to have you. They are, you know, especially when you there's so many different types of people, but, you know, I got to tell you, I'm from New Jersey, and I just feel totally blessed to have Long Island welcome me into Long Island.
We love you here.
Because I have met some extraordinary doctors and nurses and speech pathologists like yourself, and you know, and each one has such a passion and such empathy and such. And I'm sure they have them in New Jersey as well. And, you know.
They have them all over the country.
But you know, this is where, you know, I've been led to, and it's just really extraordinary. You guys are extraordinary in what you're doing.
And you can see the love and compassion
Yes.
that you know, when you work with your patients. It's just flowing
Yes.
when you're
Yes.
talking about it.
Yes.
And it's so important.
So important.
Would you like to sing something?
No. I'll sing it with
Together.
you.
You know what? Do you know what I did for love?
Not really, but I'll follow.
Okay. Yesterday, goodbye, and point me towards tomorrow. Wish me luck, the same to you. But I won't forget what I did for love, what I did for love. Look, my eyes are dry. The gift was ours to borrow. It's as if we always knew. But I can't forget what I did for love, what I did for love. Gone, love is never gone. My morning voice. As we travel on, love's what we'll remember. Kiss today goodbye, and point me towards tomorrow. Wish me luck, the same to you. Won't forget, can't regret what I did for love, what I did for love, what I did for love.
Beautiful.
My morning voice.
Gorgeous. That's gorgeous.
That was
beautiful.
great, but I don't think that I
Gorgeous.
didn't know that one. So you have to sing one that.
Oh, no.
That's all right. We'll do it another time.
Which one? What do you know from Broadway? Well, hello, Dolly. Well, hello,
I'm too shy.
Dolly.
I'll just keep you off camera.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, sorry about my morning voice, but it wasn't.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It wasn't about the tone. It was about the words.
mess.
Right.
The
Beautiful.
message that I was trying to pass on to everybody is, we'll never forget what we did for love. We'll never forget. Thank you so much, Edna.
Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure, and I hope you'll come back one day. And Judy, do you want to share anything before I
I
stream out?
just would like to mention that next week, Venice Mule-Glass, founder and director of Sunshine Physical Therapy, will be here to talk about her grandmother's stroke.
Wow.
Oh.
And the following week, September 29th, Assemblyman Andrew Rayer will be discussing brain surgery with his guest,
Wow.
Barbara Kaplan.
Wow.
Okay?
And Andrew Raya is really a gift to the universe. So, all right, we'll say goodbye. We blow kisses. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Bye, everyone.
Bye. God bless you.
Wait. Was Edna on the screen? Okay. Just wanted to make sure we got a blanket.
Mi amor, yo no entiendo por qué tú ni más que nadie sabe qué pasó en mi vida. Yo no sé qué tú piensas, yo no sé lo que haré, yo no sé lo que estoy perdiendo, yo no sé lo que va a pasar. No me puedes escuchar llorar solo sin ti, no me puedes oír llorar. El día que caminaste por la puerta, todas las memorias fueron. Mi corazón está vacío, como si tuviera ayer. No me puedes escuchar llorar solo sin ti. Mi corazón está sufriendo. No me puedes escuchar llorar solo sin ti. No me puedes oír llorar. Usted está en mi sueño por la noche. Por favor, no peleemos. Y es tan difícil para mí y para ti. Yo, ¿qué puedo hacer? No me puedes escuchar llorar solo sin ti. Mi corazón está sufriendo. No me puedes escuchar llorar solo sin ti. No me puedes oír llorar. No me puedes escuchar llorar solo sin ti. Mi corazón está sufriendo. No me puedes escuchar llorar solo sin ti. No me puedes oír llorar. No me puedes escuchar llorar, llorar. No me puedes escuchar llorar solo sin ti. Mi corazón está sufriendo. No me puedes escuchar llorar solo sin ti. No me puedes oír llorar.
Just this broken soul. I'm always a giver, but I'll never know. And I'm just this lonely man, alone on the river with my heart in my hand. The conversation, they're all dead. The lines cut off inside my head. I left here like a broken man, with no idea of where I stand. Oh, my mind clear. Oh, I shed all of my tears. Oh, now baby, I was just waiting here while you moved on. man has already won. Hold my mind clear.